Yeah, ham it off. We're actually going to take it from the bottom. Let's say from the bottom, Dalman base. Amalei Rabbi Yochanan, the second to last line of Dalman base. Can we hear back there? There is a chair back here. Yeah. It should get better as the year goes along, but if it does become intolerable, then we can always go into another room again. Only have you two lines to the bottom. I think so. They dafka want you guys to come out to the yeshiva at night because they want you to see this. They said this to me. They said they want you to see how strong Night Seder is and be able to tell people. Anyway, now we go. So say the bottom line down base. Rabbi Yochanan said below Masdi, so he's not a Mishnah which says that Kiddushin doesn't work by Yevama. The Yevama can't be Mikudeshes. I once heard a story that Rabbi Yoshe Ber was once asked about a case like this. But, the story was not a great story. It has no plot nor theme. But actually, there was a rabbi who did something like this. He was Mekadesh, since he didn't know the halacha. He came to a chasna and he didn't know that this woman was a Yevama. He found only the chasna. The woman was Yevama and she never chalitza. And he married them anyway. And he figured he'll take care of it after the wedding, but you can't do that. After that, it's too late. Once the Yevama is mizana, she's forbidden both to the Yavam and to the Nechasim. So that was the end of that, and it was kind of a tragic story. As I say, there's no happy ending to that one. So Rabbi Yochanan said marriage doesn't take effect by Yevama. Below Masdisi is in a Mishnah. It says, "Ola acha shiachla tzlach yibimech." If a man says, I want to marry you now, and it should take effect after you get chalitza, it's not about marriage. Vaya Rabbi, and it should, the top of him, it should say Yanai. Vaya Rabbi Yanai, Mikalis, Rabbi Yanai said all sorts of psukim to praise Rabbi Yochanan. We won't go through the translations again, but he said, Azolim Zoh Mikis, B'niyah B'niyah Yolisa Me'necho, Chachim Li V'samach Libi, Tein L'chochem V'yech Gamod, Yishma Chochem V'yosif Lekach. Amr Shimon Lakish, Yerushalmi said, Bah humbug, B'sar Kol Yilen Kilusaya. All after all these praises, Yochol Hu Anapatallah, it's possible for someone, meaning me, to say that Mishnah is no proof. Because the Mishnah says there's no Kedusha by Yevama, could be like Rabbi Akiva. The Akiva Omer Yesh Mamzer Yevama. The flip side of that is, of course, if Yevama has relations with somebody else and has a kid as a result, so we paskin that the kid is not a mamzer. Why? Because we paskin that in order to create a mamzer, there has to be the level of prohibition which is capital, right? Capital crime level. Rabbi Akiva holds that even a prohibition which is just plain a negative command without capital crime level also generates mamzerus. And the flip side of that is that therefore, if you say that that creates mamzerus, that means there can be no marriage under that situation. But a case where it's a lav, sometimes there is marriage, as we learned a couple of days ago. A kohen gadol marrying an almona, the marriage does take effect, right? A kohen gadol marrying grusha, marriage does take effect. So therefore, here, in fact, we might say that Mishnah would say that there's no marriage by Yevama. That's going according to Rabbi Akiva, who holds the marriage doesn't take effect even if the prohibition is one of a generic lav level. However, perhaps like Rabbanan, who argue Rabbi Akiva, marriage may take place between a foreign man and a Yevama, even though it's prohibited. Okay? So, now all that is kind of peripheral here. The question, now we're getting back to the question. Rabbi Yehuda asked a question yesterday, which we never got back to. Rabbi Yehuda's question was, Mr. Zuger, what's the problem? So we're coming back to it. Don't worry, we're coming back to it. Ham and base, we're getting there. So now, the question you're dealing with is as follows. So Rabbi Yehuda asked the question. If you have two Yevamas, right, and you did, and somebody came from the marketplace. There was a Mekadesh, one of those Yevamas, and then the Yavam did Yibur Chalita to the other Yavam, to the Tzara. So does the marriage take effect retroactively, right? And that was just asked, what are you talking about? There's no marriage by Yavama. Even though Reish Lakish said maybe there is, but Lamaisa there isn't. So what is the premise of Rabbi Yudan's question? So it says, well, perhaps the premise is as follows. Perhaps where does marriage not take effect between a Yavama and a foreigner, where there's one Yavama? Because her Zika to the Yavam is exclusive and therefore absolute. But here perhaps since there are two Yavamos, so each one only has a more tenuous Zika, and therefore perhaps a marriage to one of them by an outside person might take effect. Says Gemara, what? Shani Yisr Yavam Achas, Shani Yisr Shtei Yavamos? Is there any difference whether it's about one or two? Zika is Zika. And if Zika prevents marriage from occurring, it makes no difference if it's a Zika on a one or a Zika on a two. Okay. Lamaisa. We stop. We have no, Rabbi Yudin's question has been rejected. We reject that. Of hand, there's no premise in order to say that the marriage should take effect. Rabbi Yudin, not being deterred, went on and asked another question. Rabbi Yudin bought. Rabbi Yudin asked, Command Omer, like the Bachos, who ain't no chayav al chalutza? The opinion which shows that he is not chayav on the chalutza, meaning the guy who did chalitza. If he then has relations with her, so he's not chayav kores. It's not capital crime. Ava chayav l'tzara, but on the co-wife upon which he didn't do chalitza, so he is chayav kores because she's still considered to be an eshes ach. She's still considered to be a brother's wife, right? Chalitza ptur. The chalitza is a ptur. Okay, chalitza gets him off the hook. Vis-a-vis the woman, he did chalitza, she's no longer an eshes ach. Right? What about bia ptur? What about the case of where he had relations with her and is miyabim her, and then he died? In that case, just like you say that when you did chalitza on the woman, she still remains forbidden to the brothers as an eshes ach. The kabasa ba'aleh nesulachim. Maybe also if he has relations with her, she still remains an eshes ach. This is a fascinating question. Fascinating because it's very difficult to understand. What he's asking is like this. Perhaps there's only a one-shot evil. Meaning Reuven dies, Shimon the brother does evil. But if Shimon dies, then Levi or Yehuda can't do evil. Because maybe just like after Shimon does chalitza, Levi is chayav kores on the woman to whom Shimon did chalitza, right? So too if Shimon marries her, even if then Shimon dies without any kids, maybe now she remains an eshes ach, and anybody else can't have relations with her. Do you see that question? No, that's Rabbi Yudin's question. Maybe not. Maybe we say chalitza is ptur, then bia is also ptur. But it's situational. Meaning for the guy who does it, he gets off eshes ach. But everybody else, the originalists of eshes ach never fell off. And therefore, even if now Shimon dies, there can't be an additional Hebrew. You don't like it.
Just go down the line.
Right?
Didn't we have a case in the bottom?
We know that. I know that. You know that. The Gemara is going to say it in a minute. But Rabbi Yehuda didn't know that. So you guys are too smart. That's your problem. You have to be a little bit dumb sometimes. Okay? That's what immediately says. See, Tani Rabbi Chia said you're wrong. It's a brisa. Mesa Rishon Yibim Hashem Yabim Hasheni. The first guy dies, the second one does Ibum. Mesa Hasheni, the second one dies, Yabim Hashlishi, the third one does Ibum. So you guys being so smart, know Rabbi Chia's brisa intuitively, but Rabbi Yudan didn't. He was asking, maybe once the second guy takes it, so for him, Mesa Sachov, it fell off. Brother's wife fell off. But not for the other ones, and therefore Shimon died, then Levi would not have the right to do evil. You can't even see his Ahavamina. Yeah. Right. Oh, yeah, that was good. Boo, boo, boo. Can't be approved from Yehuda Tomer. Wasn't evil, it was poor man Torah. Okay. Now, Patur means exempt. Patur. Patur, yeah. Patur is Patur. Okay. So maybe not. Maybe you're right. We'll have to see Lam Sech if they ever bring a right from Yehuda and Tomer. But in any event, how do you know Yerushalmi doesn't? Okay. I know you're Bucky Babli, but not necessarily Yerushalmi. Okay. Says a little further. Ram Rabbi Yosef said, Matzavar. Now Rabbi Yossi attacks the svara of Rabbi Yehuda's question. Not that we have a proof against Rabbi Yehuda's question, but he attacks the svara. Matzavar. What do you hold? Chi chalitza ibiyah. That chalitza and relations are the same? Kevin shecholatz. It's not comparable. Kevin shecholatz lo. Once he did chalitza, nekoi menu zikas ameitz lemafreya. Then that undermined the entire relationship to the deceased husband. But retroactively at that point, the prohibition of Eshesach falls on the brothers. So for him, it fell off, but it remains as to be the brothers. But if you actually miyabimer, bets are off. Ishtoi, then it's his wife, the second guy's wife. So he attacks the mitzvah. The Tani, now he mentions the brisa, just even though we mentioned already. The Tani, that's what we have. Right, says Rabbi Chia says Meisa Rishon Yabim Hasheni. That the first one dies, the second one does evil. Meisa Hasheni Yabim Hashlishi. If the second one dies, then the third one does evil. Period. New sugi. Achosa. In our Mishnah it said, if your sister's married to your brother, and he has a co-wife, so you don't think him on a co-wife. How is your sister married to your brother? So my imo is your sister from your mother's side. Who's married to your brother from your father's side. And they're not related to each other, that's how you have such a scenario. Achos ishto. Well, how do you have scenario? Achosimo. Your mother's sister. How do you have that? Gvar ubrei. What happened was that a man and his son, Nasmin Tarti Nachvan, they married two daughters, okay? That's the case, it's worthwhile. What? Can't hear. What did I say? Oh, right. A man and his son married two daughters, right. So this is actually two sisters. Anyway, two sisters. So that's how it comes that his mother's sister is married to his brother, okay? Because his father married one sister, and his brother married another sister, which is strange. It sounds like something that happens in the Appalachians, but it's halachically permissible, okay? Says a little further. Achos ishto, your wife's sister, Trei Nachim, that's two brothers, Nasim and Taitin Achma, married to two sisters. Veisha Sachim Mimo, to your you are the wife of your brother on a half brother, but it's only a brother through the mother. So then there's no evil. Why? Because it says here brothers. It says by the children of Yaakov, your 12 servants are brothers, we are brothers. Just like the brothers mentioned by Yaakov Avinu, the Shvatim, which are mentioned there. It's about brothers from the father's side. So two brothers mentioned here. Brothers from the father's side. Rabbi Yonason said a different drasha to achieve the same ends. It says here, yeshiva, when two brothers sit together. That's what it says as a prelude to the Yibum Parsha. It says subsequently, yeshiva, the Yerushalmi. It says you should dwell in Eretz Yisrael and inherit it. Yeshiva you should conquer the land of Israel and dwell in it. Well, there the distribution was by the father's house. My yeshiva yeshiva Yerusha, the yeshiva in Eretz Yisrael. The dwelling in Eretz Yisrael was based on the parameters of inheritance which go by the father's house. So to the yeshiva machir is yeshiva Yerusha, one which has to do with the way inheritance move or transfer, and that goes across the father's house. Yet another drasha, Rabbi Avun Bar Bishlam Rabbi Yonason the Beis Kuvrin said, Yeshu, those brothers who dwell together, as when the two brothers dwell together in their father's house, you are to achim aim as opposed to brothers from their mother's side only. Each one goes to his respective father's house. Okay, so that's how we know that it's only brothers from the other father's side. Yachto together. This precludes when your brother died before you were born, because you were never in the world at the same time. Boy, Rabbi Bun Barchia and said Rabbi Babar Memel asked the question. Islandis Veishasachim Shloyu Olamo Hayu Baparsha. Islandis, a woman who's infertile, and the wife of a brother who was not in the world at the same time as you, they seem to be learned for the same pasuk, right? It has to be, in other words, from the same area. It has to be Yachdav, it has to be the same time, and it has to be suitable to give birth, right? So I have a kash on you. Why did you say idleness if you have a woman who can't give birth? Sarasa Muteres. Her tzara can still marry, or still be Misyabemis, right? The co-wife of an idleness can be Misyabemis. As opposed to Veishasachim Shloyu V'Parsha, as opposed to Veishasachim Shloyu V'Olamo, Tzarasa Asura. If there's a co-wife who was the wife of a brother who wasn't in the world at the same time, then the co-wife is forbidden. Gee, how would that work? I didn't even know how that would work.
Forbidden or just not...
She can't do evil. But then if she's forbidden because she's rach. But how would that work? Both wives are not in the world. Yeah. How's this case technically possible? It must be laughed after. Because the brother died. The brother died simultaneously for both his wives. That's the assumption of it. That we would assume that to be the case. So actually, in this case, he's saying technically not feasible. So I guess it's laughed after this case. But in other words, all the other cases in the Mishnah, where we're talking about soros of erba, so then you're not allowed to do yibum, neither on the erba nor on the tzara, neither on the erba nor on the co-wife. But by islanders now to do yibum on the islanders, but you're allowed to do yibum on her co-wife. What's the difference? Well, I'm always going to give an answer. Yeah. Says more again, you know things the Gemara doesn't know yet. So Amalei, so he said, Islandis mitam acherot seisa. Islandis is precluded from a different reason. Asher tele. It's not the same pasuk. I mean, because that's too suitable for later. But she's not an erva. She just can't give birth, which is what you're saying, right? Asher tele, you have to say this, but this one can't give birth. So lo dayach l'sheni misiya bemes. It's not enough. She can't be misiya bemes. El sham mevakish le'esor tzarotza, but you want to ask her a co-wife. Aval eishes sarach shlo yolomo, but a wife who wasn't alive of a brother wasn't alive at the same time, or one of the other arayos mentioned in our Mishnah. Erva, that's a different parameter. That's the prohibition of erva. Ve'erva poteres tzarotza, and an erva exempts her co-wife. No, means all the ones in our Mishnah which are ervas. Arayos. I hope. Otherwise, I have no way of understanding this. I don't know. I still don't see how it's technically feasible. So I still have to say it's not that. Yes. No. Has to be. She doesn't possess the uterus, or she's sterile. Right, sterile. But it's after menopause, so she still is liable to. She still would have to undergo yibum. Okay? Even if she's very, very old. Let me just check if he has a chart on this. I can't imagine. Okay, it does work. He's got the case. We just forgot that there is a case. There's a case which is technically conceivable. The case is where there were three brothers. Reuven was the one who died before Levi was born. He had a wife, Rachel. Rachel was Mitzvah Bemes to Shimon, who had a co-wife, Dinah. Levi was alive at the same time Shimon was alive, right? So this Rachel exempts Dinah, right, from Yibum. Why? Because she was an Eishes Achim Shlomo Lomo, not vis-a-vis Shimon, because Shimon and Levi were alive at the same time, but vis-a-vis Reuven, who died years before. Okay? So that's a case where she exempts her co-wife because of Eishes Achim Shlomo Lomo.
Except that she's the co-wife for the other.
That's right. She's exempting Dinah. Every co-wife of Reuven had would be exempt because they weren't alive at the same time as Levi. Right, that's why the cases where she's exempting carryover, that's right. Okay? Says Gemara, Asi Amar, Sora Sayoni Sasura. Asi, now I don't know why it's not called Rav Asi, maybe because they don't like what he's saying. He said, Sora Sayoni is Asura. The Tzara of an islandist is forbidden. Masnisa pliga asi. The Mishnah argues on asi. The Mishnah says, the next Mishnah says, if the Ervas died or repudiated their marriages, on these guys or they were divorced, or shanim to islandist, they found to be islandist, so our same mutaris, the co-wives are permissible. So obviously the Mishnah rejects this statement. Rabbi Bun Bar Chia b'Shem Rabba Bar Memel said, Madamar Asi, that which Asi said, even though it doesn't go like the next Mishnah, Rabbi Meir is like Rabbi Meir. Rabbi Meir says, although it's not in the next Mishnah, Kol she'ein ha'miyabmeni, if you can't do yibum on me, ein ha'miyabim tzarasi, you can't do yibum on my co-wife either. Okay? So that's like Asi. B'kalaso, the last case in the first Mishnah was his daughter-in-law. Rabbi Yosef said, this teaches us that a person is allowed to marry the wife of his nephew, because otherwise there's no way that we would have such a scenario that a father would be confronted with dealing with Yibum with his ex-daughter-in-law unless we say that your nephew's wife is permitted to you after your nephew dies. Okay, that's what you have to say. Okay? Says the Mishnah further. These 15 women enumerated in the first Mishnah, Harelu Potros, so saying they exempt their co-wives, the Torah so saying, and their co-wives of their co-wives, down the line as carryovers, Mina Chalitza, from to Chalitza, or Mina Yibum, from to Yibum, Ad Sofolam, no matter how many co-wives down the line it reaches. The Kula on all of these cases, however, Imesu Omianu. What happens if the Erva dies prior to the husband? She predeceases her husband. Or she's Mimayim. Where's Miyun possible? Who can do Miyun? Who can repudiate their marriage? Who was married by whom? No. Only by her mother or brother. If the father married her, she can't repudiate her marriage because her marriage is deraisa. If the brother or sister, brother or mother married her off, then she repudiate her marriage because marriage is Rabbanan. So if the brother was married to an erva, but he married her as a minor, and in Kedushin D'Rabbanan, and then she renounces her marriage, so then she gets her co-wife can be Misyabemis. Okay? On his Gashu, if they're divorced prior to their ex-husband dying. Or Shlipsu Islanders, so they found to be an islanders, so the same Mutar the co-wives and Mutar be evil. Now this you cannot say by your mother-in-law, that your mother-in-law is an islandess. Why can your mother-in-law not be an islandess? She had a daughter who you married. Right. So the odds are she's not an islandess. Okay? So, Norki say about Em Chavoso, your mother-in-law's mother, Veim Chaviv, your father-in-law's mother, Shadim to islandess Sumianu. You can't say that they're islandess or that they did Miyun, because obviously they were married till the point they had children, so obviously they're an islandess, and the Gemara is going to discuss above on base that after you have children, you probably can't do miyun anymore. Okay? So since they already had children before they married this fellow, so therefore they could not have done miyun on this fellow. Okay. Rabbi Yochanan says, this is a fascinating Gemara. Rabbi Yochanan says, a woman what happens if the woman got married by a brother or by her sister, by her mother, before age 12? And then her husband died. And now, instead of being Misyabem, she wants to do meals. On the Zika. Can you do miyun on the Zika? You see the question? Can she repeat it? It's not a marriage anymore because her husband died. But she's quasi-married and that she's still in Zakul. She's still required to do something, a procedure with the other. Can she do miyun now? What? Right, she avoid to either Yibum or Chalitza. So what's the story? Rabbi Yochanan she can repudiate the Yavam. And she can undermine the Zika. And that will also have the fringe benefit to allow the tzara, the co-wife, to her father. Let's say that's their rights relationship, or a kalul l'chamel, or to allow a daughter-in-law to her father-in-law. Meaning that, let's say, the mace, the deceased husband still has a father-in-law. If she repudiates her marriage now, then she go and marry her ex-father-in-law, because she was never married to the son-in-law. So can she do that? Probably not the Rabbanan, because she probably Miyun will not allow it. But the Raisa she can for sure, right? Sure. Now, Rabbi Shimon Lakish, Rabbi Shlomo Tarvein, they both said enemy minus biyavam. She can't do Miyun on the yavam, laker zika sames, to permit the zika, to repudiate the zika, and to allow the co-wife to marry her, to marry the yavam, or to allow herself to marry her ex-father-in-law. Now, this is Rabbi Yochanan Shlokish L'Shitasam according to the Yerushalmi. Rabbi Yochanan holds, as we said before, that Chalitza is a p'tur. What does mean Chalitza is a p'tur? It means Zika is real. What does Chalitza do? It's like it releases the chalitza, releases the zika. So if chalitza is a ptur, so that means the zika is a real bond. And if it's a real bond, you can do miyun on that bond. Okay? Miyun repudiate it. They repudiate that bond. But Reish Lakish says the chalitza is a kinyan. Meaning that until the chalitza, she didn't have any true relationship with the Yava. And that means that really her relationship with the first husband is for all intents and purposes ended. Just that she is in a state of limbo because she still has to undergo yibum or chalitza. But therefore she can't do miyun at this point. Why? Because when she's going to be ma'anan, she's not, her zika according to Reish Lakish is not a status of ishus, but a status of limbo, so there's nothing on which to do zika. Okay? Now, this also, the Yerushalmi learns, and the Babli argues on this. Babli and Yevamos Daf Yud. The Yerushalmi learns, according to Rabbi Yochanan, that after chalitza, she's not, according to chalitza, she's no longer an Eishasach vis-a-vis the person who did chalitza. But she's an Eishasach vis-a-vis all the other brothers. Because chalitza is a ptur. And since chalitza is a ptur, so therefore the one who did it patters, but not for everybody else. According to Reish Lakish, even after chalitza, after chalitza, she's no longer an Eishasach, neither vis-a-vis him nor vis-a-vis the brothers. Because Rabbi Reish Lakish holds, although they're not, it was a question what exactly Reish Lakish held. But that was the primary opinion in the Yerushalmi, is that after chalitza she's no longer Itzur Kores of Eishasach on any of them. Why? Because according to Reish Lakish, chalitza is a kinyan. What does it mean chalitza is a kinyan? So now it's as if she had full-fledged marriage to the second guy, who then was choletzer. So that chalitza, of course, is effective vis-a-vis whatever way, shape, or form it's effective vis-a-vis all the brothers. Okay, so if chalitza is a ptur, it can limit its ramifications can be limited to the person who engaged in the chalitza. But chalitza is a kinyan, that means that the effect is on everybody, because now she was elevated, and then the chalitza took place afterwards. No, one opinion of Reish Lakish is that it does. Rabbi Yochanan has no such opinion, but one of the opinions of Reish Lakish is that it does. Okay? Now, this is the exact opposite of the Babli. The Babli tells us, we'll see the Babli sometime next year. The Babli says that according to Reish Lakish, all the brothers are still Eishasach. All the brothers still have the prohibition of Eishasach. And in the sheet of Rabbi Yochanan, the Babli says that according to all the brothers, she's not an Eishasach at all. Okay? So the Babli doesn't hold this whole chakira of whether chalitza is a kinyan or a ptur. The way the Babli bases it is purely on the question of whether the brothers are shaliach for everybody. The brother who does chalitza is a shaliach for everybody. And in which case you would hold, like Rabbi Yochanan says in the Babli, that since he's a shaliach and he's off the hook, so they're all off the hook, or the brother's acting on his own. And since he's acting on his own, so only he's off the hook, but none of the others are off the hook. So again, Yerushalmi and Babli have very, very different perspectives. The Babli has Yerushalmi's question whether chalitza is a ptur, like according to Rabbi Yochanan, or according to Reish Lakish. According to the Babli, it sounds like everybody else chalitza is a ptur. Zika is real, chalitza is a ptur. And since that's the case, the question only is he acting on his own? In which case it's only now downgraded for him, but for everybody else it's still Eishasach. Or is he acting as a shaliach for all of them, as far as Yerushalmi apparently doesn't have, in which case the issue was downgraded across the board. Okay? So a very big machlokas between the Babli and Yerushalmi, and it seems that this machlokas has major ramifications as to how we understand Zika. Whether Zika is Ishus, which is the opinion of Rabbi Yochanan in the Yerushalmi, right? And the opinion, it seems, completely and totally of the Babli, or Zika is limbo, and chalitza is a kinyan, which is the opinion of Reish Lakish and Rav and Reish Lakish in the Yerushalmi. Yeah, but you see, they're also all better off. It's like the case of Meir mentioned before, because Ruth was a shiksa. So there, at the time of Machlon and Killian, yeah, according to most opinions. So therefore it wasn't true Yibum there either. Okay. Says more further. Top of and out. Rav Reb Shimon, so ask for, wait a minute. Do Rav Reb Shimon Lakish Holek Beishamai? Now Beishamai says explicitly later on that there is no miyun by Yovam. You can't do miyun once you fall before the Yovam. So it sounds like Rav and Reish Lakish holds like Beishamai. Right? What's going on? To Beishamai, Rav and Shimon Lakish Beishamai, Beishamai says that you only can do miyun vis-a-vis the husband, but not once he's deceased. Do Rav and Shimon Lakish talk all that way? Says more no. Mana Kayami. What's our machlokas here between? Of course, Rav and Shimon Lakish don't want to come out to Beishamai. So what are they talking about? Ango Meris. This is a very interesting discussion here. Now you have to understand. Underlying this whole discussion is the premise that even though we're talking lumdus, abstract reasoning, chalitza kinyan, chalitza ptur, but the bottom line is vis-a-vis miyun. Miyun is all the rabbanan, right? Because the whole marriage is the rabbanan. That's why this girl can repudiate the marriage. You never have such a thing by the rights of marriage, only by the rabbanan marriage. So really, the operative principle should be hey mamru v'hei mamru. If the rabbis made the rules, they can break the rules, right? So that's really the operative principle after the lumdus. And that's what Gemara is asking. Okay, it's a nice lumdus. Chalitza is a kinyan, zika is limbo, you can't do miyun on limbo, but that's only if you hold miyun is a real thing. But you guys made miyun up! So to apply it as you see fit. You say you can't apply unless it's a husband? Well, I know it's that way Beishamai. You guys hold like Beishamai? That's Gemara's question. Okay? So it says the Gemara, a very interesting distinction. Monica, we're talking about Imbo Meres if she says it's not possible, lo b'nisuecha, not to be married to you, to Yovam, nor to be married to my old husband. Everyone agrees, Rabbi Yochanan, Reish Lakish, Rav, he okeres, that she can uproot the marriage even in the state of Zika. Right? Even in Zika, she can uproot it because she's saying, I don't want him, I don't want you, I don't know who I have to do miyun too, but I don't want any of you guys. That works. And here the Shai so adds a line, although it's not necessary to add it, but it is helpful. And the line he adds, which is non-Gemara, is Vimbo Meres if she been a suecha. If she says, my dear departed husband I loved, and I would not repudiate his marriage, but you're a rotten stinker and I don't want to be married to you, then Kol Amma Moedish Eno Keres, then she can't approve it. Because the repudiation has to work not just on the current Zika state, but rather even on the retroactive state of marriage. So, getting back to order, so what's the machlokas between Rabbi Yochanan and Rav Reish Lakish on the other end? Bomeres, where she says, now here's a big word missing, if she been nisuin. But she says, it's not possible to be married. But she doesn't specify which marriage. The first marriage to the royal husband, or the second proposed marriage to the Yovam. Rabbi Yochanan says, Bill Meres, it says Bill Meres, but it's like Kill Meres. It's as if she said, if she loving the suecha, loving the suechicho. It's as if she said the right formula. I don't want either of your marriages. The Rabbi Shimon Lakish, they both said, Kill Meres. It's as if she says, if she been the suecha, I hate you. I'm in suechicho wrote down here, but I want my marriage to your deceased brother to remain intact, and therefore it's not about me. Period. Masisa Bli Rabbi Yochanan sounds like our Mishnah argues Rabbi Yochanan, because it says in our Mishnah, Vekulani Meisu, if they died, Omianu, or they did miyun, on these garshu, or they were divorced, or Shnimtzu Islandis, they found to be Islandis, Tzorosei and Mutaros, their Tzoros are permissible. Nisgarshu, it says divorce. V'lo imenu. When do you get divorced? When your husband's dead or alive? Usually when he's alive, right? So that's the case of divorce is when the husband's still alive. With the kavasa, similarly, it should be mianu. that when they repudiate the marriage, it's also a menu, that the repudiation occurred while the husband was still alive. So it's a kasha. Rabbi Yochanan says you can even repudiate at the state of Zika. Says the Gemara, Tani Rabbi Chia came. Rabbi Chia said explicitly, and I learned the price explicitly. Imianu on these karshu. Imianu on these karshu. B'chaye habal. If they did miyun or gerushin in the husband's lifetime, then the co-wives are permissible to be able. Lachar Misa about if the divorce or the miyun occurred after the husband died, so saying chotzes lo misyabmos, then the tzaros cannot be misyabmos. They have to get chalitza. Now everybody said, why do they have to get chalitza? If the co-wife was mimayin after the death of her husband, so and she's an erva to the yavam, why is chalitza necessary? But no, that's not why. But rather because the marriage between the erva and the brother was only a rabbinic marriage. So in order to exempt the co-wife from both yibum and chalitza, it would have to be a doraisa marriage, right? Because yibum was a chiv doraisa. So in order to exempt doraisa from both yibum and chalitza, both wives have to be married doraisa, and then the erva's co-wife is exempt. But since the marriage to the erva is only a rabbinic marriage, it can't exempt from yibum and chalitza doraisa. Rabbanan could say, don't do yibum, do chalitza. But chalitza. Rabbi Yehuda avoid the Rebbe, so Rabbi Yehuda and the father of Rebbe, there's a word missing here, it's Rebbe somebody, but we don't know exactly who. Avun, the father of Rebbe blank, said, Masnisa Tipat explained the Mishnah, Shemesu velo mianu. This story about who died? Not just the husband died, the little girl died. The wife was there but died. In other words, the girl died without having done meal. The Masnisa the Mishnah is saying anybody who could do miyun and did not, so the co-wife has to chalitza not yibum, and Kana Masnisa, this is the way to read our Mishnah, anyone who could have done miyun, but did not, and then she died before having done miyun, so the co-wife gets chalitza not yibum. Rabbi Abba Mori. Rabbi Abba Mori said a very interesting way of learning our Mishnah. Afilu Tamer b'kayomis. You can even talk about while she's still alive. So why doesn't she do miyun now? It's talking about where her own father is her yavam. Now the Gemara is going to ask on the base, how is it possible to have a live father and the potential of miyun? Isn't the potential of miyun only when your father's dead and you're married off by your brother or your sister or your mother? The Gemara is going to answer that. The Gemara is going to give a scenario. But let's think about that case for a minute. The Yerushalmi gives a very beautiful explanation of this. He says, what the Mishnah is saying is that if your father, in other words, the Yavam's brother married his niece, right? And now the Yavam died, and he left the niece, to which is married to Rabbanan. And of course, he left his wife, who was his niece, and who's now the Yavam's daughter, right? And he left the co-wife, right? So co-wife has to chalitza, not yibum. So why don't they do miyum now? Why can't we get the co-wife to even do yibum by having the daughter do miyum? So in that it says she can't do miyum now because who's her Yavam? Her father. What does it mean that her Yavam is a father? It means there's no zika. The only time there's a possibility of doing miyun after death is if there's still zika. But there's no zika to an erva. Since there's no zika to an erva, you can't do miyun anymore. It's a beautiful explanation for this man, which it seems to be pushed on the word, but nobody else says. Again, our Mishnah is saying there's a time when it's too late to do miyun. When is that? If your yavam is your father or any other erva, right? And then and you didn't do miyun until after death, until after your husband died. There's no way you can do miyun afterwards. Why can't you do miyun afterwards? Because there's no zika. You have to be able to do miyun on zika. It has to be either on a marriage or on a zika. That Rabbi Yochanan said you can do miyun on a zika. It's talking about where the yavam is not an erva. Where the yavam is nerva, ain't no zika, ain't no miyun. Therefore, the tzara in all those cases, the co-wife has to chalitza and cannot get yibum. Okay? Says where Rabbi Yehuda Amar. Now, period. That's new sugya. Rabbi Yehuda Amar Abba min Eretz. This is kind of getting back to idleness. Rabbi Yehuda said the only time idleness is exempt from yibum is if she was discovered in idleness when she was betrothed, but not yet married. Remember, in the old days, used to divide between kiddushin and chuppah. So between the kiddushin and chuppah, she was found to be an idleness. So in that case, we say then there's no there's no yibum. However, after nisuin, since the guy decides he may marry her despite a barrenness, then there is yibum. Says more Rabbi Yossi Amar af min nisuin, even from after nisuin, there is no yibum because lemaisa the idleness is not susceptible to yibum. Period. Machzira tinyana, when Rabbi Yossi learned the second time around Yevamos, chazba Rabbi Yossi reneged and said it's only an idleness mina erusin who exempts, not an idleness mina who's exempt, not an idleness mina suin. Amalei Rabbi Pinchas said to Rabbi Yossi, what's going on here? Lokin Alf and Rebbe mina nisuin. They should teach us that even from marriage, the idleness is exempt from yibum. Amalei, so Rabbi Yossi retorted. He said, "Vikfua gabochkim asmera." What is it stuck into you like a nail? Just like I changed my mind, you can change your mind. Rabbi Zir said, Rabbi Yomana. Yo, some Rabbi Yossi said, Rabbi Yossi said that before he reneged. Meaning that even idleness mina nisuin is not susceptible to yibum. Ilu bito mina nisuin. Because look, if your daughter is married to your brother, and it's after marriage, below idleness, without initial violence, so rasa asura, so the tzara, the co-wife, is forbidden, right? She doesn't have yibum chalitza. Mivnei is vosif for idleness, just because now she's an idleness, so rasa muteres, the tzara is permissible, meaning now that you find that she's an idleness, and because she's an idleness. One second, I'm not sure I understood when I prepared this properly. Yeah, I did understand properly. Now I didn't understand properly. I'm sorry. Ilu is a new statement. The Ritbaz says from Ilu starts a new statement, doesn't follow the previous statement. Confused when I was preparing today too. In other words, we finished. Rabbi Yossi said better before it was chayzvo. Even Ayos min Nisuya is not shach to Ilu. Now new sugya. And it's a question. The question is, what happens according to the opinion that well, let me read inside. The question was, an islandese min nisuin, right? Why is she exempt from yibum? And why then does the co-wife allowed to be Misar Bemis? If it's your daughter, and she's not an islandese, so her co-wife is forbidden to be Misar Bemis. She's supposed to be islandese because she's your daughter, and she's an islandese. So now, should be a double whammy. Yet you're saying that's a Ras Muteres. Then in that case, since your daughter is an islandess, or any other Arab in the Mishnah said, if any riots is found to be an islandess, then it's a Ras Muteres. Why is that? There should be a double whammy. Now she's an Arab plus an islandess. She's an Arab but plus an islandess, so certainly the co-wife should be exempt from Yibum Chalitza. Right? If in a single whammy, if one of the wives is co-wives is an Arab, so then her co-wife doesn't get cannot drive Yibum Chalitza. So if the woman is both an Arab and an islandess, so certainly the other co-wife can't get Yibum Chalitza. Doesn't that follow? Says no. Islandess k'mishaina boiler. She's an islandess, she doesn't count at all. It's as if she's non-existent. And that's why she doesn't exempt the co-wife from Yibum Chalitza. Because islandess is outside the game. They don't get into the game at all because of Asher Teileh. And so here we continue as a proof that Ilu Shtei Yevamos, if you have two Yevamos, two co-wives, Achas Alanis, V'achas Shein Alanis. One's Alanis, one is not. Uba Yavam Mecholatz Uba Aleh. And the Yavam came and did Chalitza. Or Bia to the Alanis. Shema Pata B'chaber T'klum. Does it have any effect on the co-wife? Not at all. Because an Alanis is not at bat when it comes to Yibum or Chalitza. So therefore, whatever you do to Alanis is meaningless, and therefore the co-wife of Alanis is always permitted for Yibum Chalitza. Have an Alanis Kamisha Enabo, so Alanis is if it doesn't exist, vis-a-vis the issue of Yibum. Okay, Bita. The rest of the one is very easy, but I still don't think we'll be able to do our two plot in the next 2 minutes. Bita. So he said a case in Amral where your own daughter has the possibility of doing miyun, even though you're still alive and kicking. How is there such a case? Ubitu memayenes says mevlobi sui torei. If a father marries off his daughter, it's doraisa. As piti nosati l'shazeh. We're on Amid Beis. I gave my wife to this man. Rabbi Chuna v'Shem Ben Shem Rabbi Shimon Lucky said, "Tipater." Fourth line down. Tipater v'ktana she'isi aviyah. It's a cool case like this. Her father married her off once. And then she got divorced. The status of a girl who was married and then divorced and remains a minor. She's like an orphan in her father's lifetime. But even though her father can marry off a second time, that second marriage is only the Rabbana and not the Raisa. And therefore she can do miyun in that case even though her father's still alive. Father only gets one shot, not more than that. Okay? Rabbi Shimon Lucky said, Zosames, this teaches us, She'en Ktana Yoledis, that a Ktana can't give birth. Why? To locate if that was not the case, skip the next 3 words, Shai takes down. Temoyim Bebala, let her repudiate her husband, B'tatir Tzarasa L'chasana, and let her permit the fact that, so I have to explain, the fact that our Mishnah said a mother-in-law can't be mamayin teaches us that a Ketana doesn't give birth. Because if a Ketana could give birth, so maybe his mother-in-law gave birth to him as a Ketana, gave birth to his wife as a Ketana, and then afterwards she did miyun later on, right? So it must be that minors don't give birth. And that's why it's not possible to have a case of miyun by a mother-in-law, right? To locate, to Mayim Val, let her do miyun on her husband, and let her allow her co-wife to marry her son-in-law. In fact, we had a case where Rabbi Shmuel's daughter-in-law, she did miyun, even though she had a child on her shoulders. We had a case of miyun where there was a girl who's already had grown to adulthood. Now the Gemara is going to discuss this at great length. What does Rabbi Shmuel hold? L'chora miyun is only shaykh if the girl's still a minor. Does miyun occur even if the girl's already an adult, already has kids, right? Especially in light of what we hold, that once you have kids, you're considered to be really an adult already. All right, so this is all something which we'll leave to tomorrow, but it's actually very easy tomorrow. There's no secret by analysis whatsoever, right? The Egyptian doesn't exist.